Welcome back to the show, everybody. We got a great one for you this morning. Don't worry about those falling prices of crypto right now. We got bigger fish to fry. Facebook's leaving Switzerland. It's coming back to the U.S. And you remember those little things we talked about that are not so little? The Great Reset by the World Economic Forum, the new Bretton Woods moment that's been called for by the IMF. Well, there's a new meeting at Bretton Woods, and you're going to want to know about it. Let's roll that beautiful intro.
This is Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Subscribe for new content notifications. Now, here's Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. You can follow me on Twitter at BackupBradleyAbove, and everything that we're talking about here. Make sure you follow me on Twitter because there's a lot of news there that doesn't make this show, and you're going to want to stay on top of it. But we do have a lot to go over today. Right now, Bitcoin and the rest of the crypto space is bleeding heavily this morning. A lot of that to Bitcoin's doorstep is because Elon Musk is now saying he's not going to offer Bitcoin for purchase of the Tesla vehicles anymore. The price of Bitcoin right now, $49,837.93. It is dipped below for the first time in a long time the $1 trillion market cap. So keep an eye on what's happening in this market, ladies and gentlemen. Ethereum now at 3,700 plus. It has pulled back greatly, 11.43% on the 24-hour, and coming down to XRP right now is also bleeding, 8.82 on the 24-hour, off by 22.82% on the 7-day. We were at $1.31 right now this morning. We look at the range. Before we do, these numbers are brought to you by the one and only link to Private Investing Made Simple. There is so many great products here, ladies and gentlemen. Blockchain, crypto space, whether it's Uphold or whether it's Kraken. You got to keep an eye out for Ripple shows up here. And also there's some other great products here as well. I encourage you to check them out here. AI or automation, things of that nature, data analytics. I mean, you wouldn't believe the level of products they have on their website. So make sure you check those out. Link in the description. We were at $1.30 this morning. We're ranging between 123 and 147. We know that the 122 mark was support according to Dark Defender here. We also know Dark Defender, Coins Kids, Terra, I believe, and many other Crypto Wizard, Crypto Bull 2020. And I like to use a bunch of TA people because they are very good at what they do. And when we see them in alignment, I think that gives me confidence that everybody's reading the same thing out of the tea leaves, no matter what charting tools they're actually using. So we understand that 122 is support for XRP, but there also has been calls that we could see XRP roll over in price down into the 90 or touch even 70 cent range before this turns around and goes the other direction. But look, we have a lot of fundamental news that is affecting the market, and that is a very real thing, as well as the TA. Tesla has suspended the vehicle purchases using Bitcoin. They're concerned about rapidly increasing use of fossil fuels for Bitcoin mining and transactions, especially coal, which is the worst emissions of any fuel. So cryptocurrency is a good idea on many levels, and we believe that it has a promising future, but this cannot come at a great cost to the environment. And it says Tesla will not be selling any Bitcoin, and we intend to use it for transactions as soon as mining transitions to more sustainable energy. Just a couple weeks ago here, we saw Chris Larson suggests that Bitcoin switched from proof of work to proof of stake. This is a big deal. There is something coming from market regulators. You can believe it. Yesterday, I just covered a SEC warning. And what was that about? Do you remember if you caught the show yesterday? It was about being invested in Bitcoin and Bitcoin futures and other products on top of that asset. Now, I don't know how much more of a warning you need, but there it is. Now, here's a warning that we all want to hear. Facebook stablecoin entity Diem Association is relocating from Switzerland to the United States, buoyed by evolving regulatory landscape of the country. Now listen here, this gets even better. I'm going to break this down for you. I covered this in the other video much deeper. But I just want to highlight here, it's not just about Facebook's Diem moving from Switzerland to the U.S. They're moving to the US and they're connecting with digital currency groups Barry Silbert's SilverGate Bank, for which they bought a few years ago. And they will be handling the reserve for the 1-to-1 US dollar to the Diem stablecoin. Ladies and gentlemen, I can't help but feel, and now this part is my speculation, but I can't help but feel that that test that the Federal Reserve said they were going to do with 5 US central banks, which are different Federal Reserve locations, may in fact be tied to this test with the stablecoin of Diem to 2.7 billion users. And let me tell you what, we do know that it's happening because they're coming back here to make it happen. So with that being said, do you remember when the World Economic Forum started the narrative of the Great Reset, right? To build back new, all of these terms, all of these things we've been hearing, right? Moving to a digital economy, right? A new Bretton Woods moment from the International Monetary Fund. The IMF, Kristalina Georgieva has kicked off that new Bretton Woods moment. Well, for the OGs, they already know, so hang on pause for a second. But for the new people in the space, the original Bretton Woods moment back in 1944, very quickly, was when they had the switch from the pound to the US dollar as the global reserve currency. It was originally pitched in that meeting by John Maynard Keynes to use a Bancor coin, what he called would be acting as a neutral bridge asset to all the money of the world. So you could avoid things like the Triffin dilemma. And the Triffin dilemma is when you have a national currency that also serves as a global reserve currency. And when you affect national policy, it usually, in a positive way, you usually affect a global policy in a negative way, and vice versa. That creates a Triffin dilemma when a national currency is used as a global reserve currency. That is a situation the United States is currently in right now with the dollar. The other thing about the Bretton Woods moment in 44 is that it was the creation of the International Monetary Fund. So what I hear here in a new Bretton Woods moment is not only the change of the US dollar as the global reserve currency to a neutral bridge asset in the theme itself, a new Bretton Woods moment, because that's what happened in 44 in the original moment. I also see a new introduction of some form of central bank, which could potentially be Ripple or RippleNet because of the escrow of XRP. And that's how I personally feel in my speculation. And we can go on about that on another day. But here is a chart from the World Economic Forum that shows you, at the very least, we are at least, a 9-iron away from the green, if not closer than that. Fourth Industrial Revolution is a part of this great reset, right? And it leads back to new economic thinking, transforming markets, right? Responsible innovation, which is renewable, sustainable, carbon net neutral, right? All of these things that we've heard, right? The digital economy and new value creation. Wow, new value creation by using these new platforms and these new DLT technologies, right? We can have new value creation there. And what else can we have? I'll tell you what else we can have. We could be switching and starting to transition, as I believe, from a debt-based system that we're currently in to an asset-backed system, which means you have assets and borrow against them for yourself. And that's what you can currently do in this nascent emerging market of cryptocurrency. Now, this I found extremely interesting here from Blockworks, because there's a new Bretton Woods meeting and it's called the realignment. Are you hearing this? Is this on? A new Bretton Woods meeting in August 11th through the 13th at the end of the summer. The realignment. I want you to listen to this. Introducing Bretton Woods realignment. We've created a gathering of the best macro thinkers at the most important site in monetary history. And look at what they're going to talk about. Executive level only, $100 billion in asset management, capped at 250 attendees. And here's why they're doing this. In 1944, Bretton Woods Conference brought together leaders from 44 nations to rebuild the monetary system. World War II has just ended. It was time to start fresh. As a result of the Bretton Woods Agreement, the US dollar was officially crowned the world reserve currency, as we discussed. But listen, But there's one key detail, the dollar was backed by the world's largest gold reserves until 1971, when President then Richard Nixon yanked the U.S. off the gold standard. This sparked the downfall of the Bretton Woods system. 50 years later, the new system is no longer working. Are you hearing this? So what's the future of money? On April 11th through the 13th, they said we'll answer that question. And I think it's August they meant to say. They are hosted at the same venue hotel as the original conference. Blockworks gathered the world premier economists, macro analysts, and investors on day one. Listen to these topics they're going to cover. Re-examining short-term versus long-term debt cycle. The petrodollar and future of U.S. hegemony. And by the way, if you haven't seen the short-term, long-term debt cycle explained by Ray Dalio, I would go watch that video. Just put in his name and long-term, short-term debt cycle. You'll get a killer video, about 15, 20 minutes. The petrodollar and the future of U.S. hegemony. Are you hearing this? The changing Fed mandate. Triffin's dilemma retrospective that we just went over. The problem with the U.S. dollar being the global reserve. Breaking down the euro-dollar market. The withdrawal of the U.S. and overuse of sanctions. Can anyone say SWIFT? The macro view, the future of the dollar. Is this not about all the money as we've heard? Is this not about all the money that we've heard from Ripple and XRP, the mantra that they carry about XRP not competing with the government dollars of the world, but in fact working within the system to be a neutral bridge asset to all the money and not competing with it or against it? You want to talk about the main differences between Bitcoin and XRP? Well, there it is right there. XRP was never designed to compete against the government dollars of the world. It was designed to increase the velocity of money for which it changes hands throughout the world. Helping the recovery is what that is. And here we see also more topics. Does Bitcoin's monetary policy work? I think we got a resounding no on that one as it currently is. Now, renewable, sustainable energy, I see a long-term future there. Market structure, venues, flows, and liquidity. How do we get the legacy banks and firms tied back into this? We're sick and tired of seeing these little crypto exchanges make billions of dollars when this is really our customers. This is my thoughts of the legacy banking world looking at this entire situation. The past, the present, and the future of banking. Along with that, how can we make it better, build it back better? Bitcoin lending, risk, and opportunities, and a $2 trillion problem of opportunity for payments. Now, I'm going to tell you, again, if you understand what a real Bretton Woods moment and that phrase means, that the original Bretton Woods moment actually crowned the U.S. dollar as the global reserve currency. It was the birth of the IMF, a central bank for the world, right? I see in that statement the very fact that we're about to see some kind of move towards the U.S. dollar not being the global reserve currency, potentially, my speculation, XRP serving in to aid that role to take the pressure off the back of the U.S. dollar. And potentially a new central bank, which could be RippleNet turning into brick and mortar full-on central bank, or some kind of consortium, if you will, or maybe even Ripple themselves. But I do believe Ripple remains a blockchain infrastructure company, and we see something very, very great come out of this, and the U.S. Treasury playing a role at some point in my mind as well. Look, that's going to do it for me. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe. Things are happening all the time, regardless of price. Head on a swivel. This is crypto. You never know. And make sure you check out all the links in the description box and the comment section. This is getting interesting. Don't let the market action and the price drops out here fool you. Everybody's got to do what they want, not financial advice, and you got to make your own mind up. But don't be distracted by short-term losses, because this fundamental news here is about long-term gains in my eyes. And make sure you check out all the links in the description box and the comment section. They are trusted, vetted links. I'll catch all of you on the next one.